Hello, thank you so much for joining today's Mobile Cause webinar on leveraging social media in fundraising. Whether social media is a new frontier for you and your nonprofit, or you've been trying out different platforms for quite some time, we've got some excellent ideas to help you level up your strategy in order to better engage your intended audience and inspire more giving. During today's exciting webinar, we'll discuss pivotal insights into the landscape of current social media trends and how they apply to nonprofits like yours. We'll look at choosing the best platforms for your organization and how to build a community of loyal followers through posting purposeful content at just the right time, and so much more. We want you to participate in today's discussion, so please feel free to ask any burning social media questions by submitting them into the questions box of your GoToWebinar control panel. We'll answer them during the webinar as well as at the end where we have some dedicated time for Q&A with our experts. We hope you enjoyed today's webinar, and as a quick reminder, we'll be sending out the recording and slides to all of our registrants afterwards. Today's webinar is presented by Mobile Cause. As a fundraising professional, you have a million responsibilities and only a few resources. Mobile Cause is here to help. Mobile Cause delivers comprehensive end-to-end fundraising software that's easy for you and your donors to use. You also receive hands-on campaign creation and setup from a digital marketing services expert coupled with the industry's best customer support. Mobile Cause believes 100% of donations should go directly to your cause, which is why they don't charge for any transaction fees and have the industry's lowest credit card processing fees. With Mobile Cause, you can raise more money with less time and energy. Now, let me introduce today's wonderful panel of experts. Julia Campbell is president of marketing for the Modern Nonprofit, a digital marketing consulting business looking to make the digital world a better place. Through speaking and consulting, she guides organizations of all sizes on the best uses of social media and storytelling to build communities, showcase impact, and advance their causes. Julia's book, Storytelling in the Digital Age, a guide for nonprofits, is a roadmap for social change agents who want to build movements using engaging digital storytelling techniques. She resides north of Boston with her husband and 2 children. Lindsay Himple is a digital marketing specialist with Mobile Cause, where she works one-on-one with nonprofits to maximize their fundraising campaign success. She creates and sets up fundraising campaigns, provides fundraising and donor engagement strategies, and creates communication and promotional tools in support of those campaigns. Lindsay's work has enabled hundreds of Mobile Cause customers to successfully accelerate and increase their fundraising and engagement efforts. We have a captivating, information-packed agenda for you today, where our speakers will cover the social media landscape, how to choose the best platform, social media strategies for fundraising campaigns, posting with purpose, and multi-channel promotional campaigns. Okay, so before we dive right into our social media insights, we have a quick poll for everyone. So I'm wondering, what social media platforms does your nonprofit regularly post to? Please make your selection from the available choices in the polling interface now. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, or a combination of all 5. I'll leave this poll open for another 10 seconds or so as we get everybody's responses in. Excellent, going once, going twice. Good, let me close this out and I'll share the results. Wow, that's great to see everyone's putting their social media efforts front and center. So looks like this will be fun and informative for all of us. So Julie, what do you think about these results?
I mean, it's not surprising. So Facebook is the most widely used social media platform for marketing, and it's certainly the easiest to use for direct fundraising in terms of social media platforms. But 2 billion people are on the platform every day. So it really, actually, the trend really doesn't surprise me, but I think it's really great that people are using social media. Okay. Can you hear me?
Indeed, yes, thank you. Sorry,
Okay.
we'll
That's
turn things over
okay.
to you.
Great. Sorry, wasn't sure. That's fine. It's a live webinar. Anything can happen. I'm so excited to be here with you today. We're going to talk about some strategic ways to use social media to raise money online. Something I should say, kind of as a caveat before we start, is that I don't see my job as telling you you should be doing this. I think that you are savvy nonprofit marketers. You just want the information to make an educated decision for your own organization. So I really see my job as giving you the tools, talking about the landscape, showcasing some of the possibilities, talking about the pros and cons, and we're going to have a great time going through some of the ways you can use it. But I don't work for Facebook, I don't work for Twitter. I have no skin in the game here. I just think that we need to be educated so that we can make these decisions for our organizations and what's best for our constituents. So when we talk about the social media landscape, especially entering 2019, it's pretty crowded. So there are a lot of infographics, there are a lot of statistics out there. I think we really need to throw them all out of the window. So I like to have them in my webinar just to kind of show you the landscape. But a question that I get very frequently is, Julia, how can I cut through the clutter online? And I always say, you can't. You cannot possibly cut through the clutter and reach everybody. It's just not possible. So you need to focus on your audience, your donors, your constituents, and what is your message and how can you draw the right people in to participate with your cause. So don't get caught up in the landscape and the 10 billion tweets and all of that. It's not going to affect what you can do with your core audience and your donors. One trend that I do see, though, that kind of defies what we've been hearing in the mainstream media is that social media use is growing. I mean, a majority of Americans use Facebook and YouTube. I encourage everyone to go to Pew Research Center, that's PEW, either Google Pew Internet or Pew Research Center. They're a nonpartisan, completely nonprofit research center, and they do a lot of reports on social media demographics. And they found that social media use is actually growing. It's not growing the leaps and bounds that it was, say, 5, 6 years ago, but it is still growing incrementally. Young people are still using social media. So everyone says, oh, they're not using it, they're not on it. It's like kind of for old people. The key to understand is that different demographics use social media in different ways for different purposes. So there really is no one size fits all. Snapchat, Instagram, they're popular. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be on there. It just means that you need to know this information as a nonprofit social media manager so you can make better decisions about where to allocate your already stretched resources. Baby boomers are on there too. So if you have a board member that says, well, our donors are older, they're not on social media, they are the fastest growing demographic utilizing social media. And this says 82% of baby boomers utilize social media sites. 50% of baby boomers have two or more social media platforms that they manage. And my mom, my mother-in-law, my dad, all the baby boomers I know are active on at least one or two platforms. And it's important to know that they're interested. So it's something that you can't just assume that they're not interested, that they don't want to use it. You know your audience, you know your donors better than I do. So I'm just showing you the demographic information, but don't write off young people, don't write off baby boomers based on your assumptions. Do it based on data, make decisions based on data. The Global Trends in Giving Survey is a fantastic wealth of information focused on how donors use social media to make decisions about giving. So it's actually really laser focused on the issues that we care about. So it found that almost 30% of donors said that social media does inspire them to give. Whether or not they give via the platform, that remains to be seen, but definitely something they saw on social media inspired them to give. 56% say Facebook inspired them the most, which is great news for us because 97% of us on this webinar are using Facebook. Instagram is the second most, 13%. Twitter is the third. So check that out. There's the link at the bottom. When you get the slides, you can upload the giving report. It's got some really great insights into how donors use social media, how nonprofits are using social media. So, how do you choose the best social media platforms for your small nonprofit? The good news is that you don't have to be everywhere and you shouldn't be everywhere. If you are a marketing slash development director slash social media slash duties as assigned, which I've been there, that's how I started out my career as a everything, washing the coffee pot and packing the event, name tags and swag bags, also raising major gifts and writing grants. If you're all of that, you do not have the time and the capacity to spend on 20 different social media platforms if you don't have a marketing department of 10 people. So you need to optimize your time spent based on what's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. So each social media platform should be looked at like a different country. Each platform has its own rules and etiquette, best practices, strengths, weaknesses, language, audience. The example that I use is that I'm going to Berlin in September. I would not buy a guidebook for Johannesburg if I'm going to Berlin. And I think that's what we've been doing and that's what we've been taught. And that's why so many of our social media efforts fall flat. We're trying to sort of cram square pegs into round holes. So you have to know what content works best. So on Instagram, no surprise, photos that are high resolution, that are eye catching. You can do inspirational quotes. You can talk about your impact. Instagram is a perfect storytelling platform. Instagram and Facebook stories are perfect for showing that kind of off the cuff, behind the scenes, lift the veil, show us the human face of your organization, show us what you're doing in real time. It's a little bit less polished or a lot less polished, depending on how you communicate on social media. But stories, I recently read, are poised to take over newsfeed content in terms of the amount of people using them and the amount of people engaging with them daily. So something to think about. I don't want you to get overwhelmed and think you have to start posting stories. Just something to think about, something to explore. Facebook, we know you have to become that go-to resource. You have to share stories, videos. That's what really works best on Facebook. In terms of live streaming, you can live stream and actually raise money on Facebook via a live stream. You can direct people to your email list. You can showcase your program behind the scenes. You can do Q&As. Twitter works best for advocacy alerts, things that are timely and urgent, connecting with thought leaders and journalists. Twitter's almost like a fast-paced newsroom. So it's oftentimes not the best venue or avenue for small, tiny local nonprofits. Bigger nonprofits, national nonprofits dealing with larger issues and advocacy, Twitter is a great place to be. LinkedIn is a fantastic forum if you're sharing information that is valuable, how to, educational. People love that on LinkedIn. It's definitely not a place where you're going to post a photo of your lunch. You're not going to probably post a picture of your kids on LinkedIn. It's very professional and driven by whatever industry you're in. YouTube is, I always talk about YouTube. People think that you can upload any kind of video to YouTube. You can, certainly, but YouTube also has very specific best practices. People go to YouTube to watch video. You can post longer form video on YouTube. You can post things that are 10 minutes as opposed to Facebook where you want to keep it to 30 seconds or 1 minute. So YouTube is an interesting beast in and of itself. It's the #2 search engine in the world. So anytime you want to be discoverable, I think all of us do, raise awareness, increase visibility, we want to look at YouTube. And then Pinterest, I've been seeing Pinterest as a great driver of website traffic, and people go to Pinterest with revenue goals in mind. So people use Pinterest like a vision board. So it's more aspirational than it is things that are happening in the moment. I'm going to pin things on my Pinterest board based on who I want to be and who I aspire to be, much more than who I am now. If that makes sense. So 4 questions to ask before jumping on a digital channel. Also, 4 questions to ask your board member when they say, we should be on Pinterest, we should be on Snapchat, and then everyone starts talking about it. Let's say, okay, let's roll this back a little bit. We need to ask 4 different questions. Is our audience there, the people that we are trying to target? Can we actually add unique value to this channel, or are we just going to be posting links? Are we just going to be recycling content and automating to this channel? Certainly you can repurpose content, but automation across channels doesn't work. What are we going to post that's interesting and unique? I think we need to really have a conversation around this. This is where nonprofits struggle. What makes our mission and our cause interesting and unique? And can we translate that to this specific social media channel? And then why are we on this channel specifically? Okay, why are we using this channel? We want to get on Instagram. Great. Why? If it's just because your nephew was on there and he told you it was cool, that is not a good enough reason. You have to have a purpose, a goal to using this specific channel. We want to tell our stories in a visual way. We want to reach a brand new audience. We want to connect with influencers. We want to reach millennials. Those are all great goals. Have a goal for each channel and a reason to be using each channel. Then you also want to consider whether or not you can design and create specific content for that channel. Can you do that great visual storytelling that's required on Instagram? Are you a fast-paced newsroom like Twitter? And then, of course, the most important question, realistically, do you have the capacity? I give you permission to break up with social media channels that aren't working. I give you permission right here and right now. You don't want to do things that are not working. You don't want to spin your wheels. Less is more. Focus over frantic. That's what I always say. The real work of social media, you need to do research on your audience and the topics they're interested in. So we have to stop looking at what we want to say in our agenda, and we have to start really thinking strategically about our audience, knowledge of the channel and what works on that channel, creation, which means creating unique content that no one else has seen. And then, of course, curation, which means finding the best kind of content that our audience would be interested in. So, curating really means monitoring conversations, looking at what other people are writing, and then sharing it with our audience as a value add. And then, of course, analyzing what we're doing, iterating, improving, constantly looking at insights, constantly trying to do better. I like the IRS social media strategy as an example of how to use multiple channels for the best possible impact. They use each channel very specifically. So they use the YouTube channel for different videos in different languages. Twitter, they use for specific reasons, Facebook, LinkedIn. So their strategy, you would never think that the IRS would have a social media strategy to follow. They actually do really a great job. And they just joined Instagram, and they joined it for a very specific reason. They actually want to reach millennials, and they want to explain to them about myths and misconceptions around paying taxes, around tax returns, and that kind of thing. So your new mantra, again, less is more, focus over frantic. Okay, so some tools that you can use when you want to raise money directly on the platforms. Of course, you can always do posting a URL and sending people to an outside website. That's one very effective way of raising money on these tools. Or you can use the tools that are integrated into the ecosystem of each platform. So Facebook is one thing. Facebook owns Instagram. So Facebook has the donate button. I think we're all very familiar with the donate button. Hopefully we're familiar with birthday fundraisers. I think that most of you have probably either seen someone have a birthday fundraiser or donated to a birthday fundraiser. Also on Instagram now they've released the donate sticker, the donation sticker, and you have to put it in your Instagram stories. So with Facebook and Instagram, you have to register through Facebook Giving Tools and go through the entire process of what that entails and what that requires. And then you should be able to use both of these tools and direct your followers to them if they so choose. And then YouTube has a giving tool as well. They have a donate button. This is all look what it looks like on mobile. It does look different on the desktop. And YouTube giving tools are run through the nonprofit Google for Nonprofits program. So make sure that you are signed up or at least explore what you're doing, explore if you're signed up, because you can't start raising money if you are not fully signed up and registered. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot of questions around these tools. They're very controversial and they're very polarizing. Some people love them, some people hate them. I'm just going to share the pros and cons with you. So the pros are, of course, that 2 billion people use Facebook. However many million people are using Instagram, 500 million use Instagram stories. Is your audience there? So just because 2 billion people are using Facebook doesn't mean your audience is there. That's an important caveat as well. Another pro, no fees. They don't take any fees, and ease of use. That's probably for people that have donated, they love the ease of use. So for the donor perspective, they say, oh yeah, I just tap on a button and there you go, and enter my contact information. The problem becomes the nonprofit side, so the fundraising side. We don't get a lot of information, if any information. So whether it be YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, they all have the same restrictions on sharing donor data. So oftentimes, if someone starts a birthday fundraiser for you, you don't know that they did start it and you don't know who they are and you don't necessarily get their contact information unless they share it with you. A lot of nonprofits also have concerns about security and brand protection. I mean, it really is in the era of data breaches and privacy protection, it can be something you want to think about. The reporting can be messy and confusing. It's getting better, but you don't necessarily know where the donor came from. And then there's no easy or fast way to thank the donors. They get a tax receipt automatically when they donate, but you don't necessarily get their information. So for fundraisers, this is really, really hard because we don't have, it's like a missed opportunity to cultivate that longer relationship with the third party donors. So if I give to my friend Melissa's birthday fundraiser and I don't check the box that says, I want to hear from this charity, you're not going to get any information. Also, you're going to just get my Facebook name, which happens to be Julia Gulia. So you can't even cross reference it with your database because not everyone gives a real name on Facebook. I know we're supposed to. So, Facebook, don't get me in trouble. But I think that when you are starting a social media fundraising program, you need to weigh the pros and the cons. You absolutely need to weigh the pros and the cons, and you need to understand. A great way to use social media is to promote your fundraising campaigns. So whether or not you're actively fundraising via the donate button, you can use it to promote it. Think about what your supporters value. Think about what they want to know more about. Think about what motivates them, what drives them, how are they creating a meaningful life? How are they related to your organization? How are they involved? Because really what we want to do on social media, we do not want to use social media purely for transactional purposes. It was not built that way. It's sort of going in that direction because it's full of ads now, it's full of birthday fundraisers, it's full of, you can click on things on Instagram and instantly purchase them. Social media was never intended to be transactional. It was intended to be building an online community. And for nonprofits, that means really eliciting trust, showing that you're credible, showing that you walk the walk, that you know what you're talking about, showing that you're a good steward of funds, showing people evidence of the people that you help, showcasing your impact, getting people excited and proud to be a part of your work, and making them so inspired that they take an action on your behalf. So a lot of the work that I do with my clients on social media is not even transactional. It's just sharing stories, getting great photos, staying top of mind, trying to get comments and interaction, trying to build a real community with your donors and supporters rather than just using them as ATM machines. Also, creating a sense of urgency when you do have those fundraising asks. So when you've created this community, hopefully you've primed the pump for them to fundraise, for them to be asked, and then sharing your goals, letting them know that letting them know it's time to donate, letting them know what they're going to get, making the asks as specific as possible, eliminating decision fatigue. What is $5 a month going to get? What is $25 a month going to get? This is challenging for us. We like to ask for very general general operating funds. We can't do that on social media. People need specifics. They need something that's compelling. They need something that where they can impulse donate or click on a link right when they see your story, they see your video. So, the three keys to social media fundraising success: one, consistency. So, I can't tell you how often you should post because I don't know your staff capacity. I don't know how much content you have. I don't know how many channels you're using, and I don't know your budget. So, consistency is different for everyone. I always say consistency and cadence is what you can keep up with. So what you don't want to do is what everybody does at the start of the new year, right? We say, I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week and work out for an hour. And then, of course, that never happens. And then you only go 3 days and then you feel like a failure. So then you quit. You're like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. Social media is like exercise. Keep up the cadence and the consistency that you can actually keep up with because it's so much more important to be consistent than to throw things up and see what sticks. So we want quality, quality over quantity always. Content, quality content. This goes back to your audience. Do a deep dive into who you're talking to on social media. And I know what you're saying. I already know what you're saying because I do this. I speak and I do webinars. You're saying, Julia, I have 50 audiences I need to communicate with on social media. I have donors, I have clients, I have stakeholders, I have community members. To that, I say, find the thread that connects all of them. If you're sharing stories of your impact and stories that showcase the work that you do and the people that you serve, or the location that you're in, or things around the industry, you become the go to resource. There is a thread that runs through everything. And I have several clients that alternate. They share some things that are client focused, some things that are donor focused, and they definitely are consistent. They all have a thread that ties them together, but you're never going to find that one piece of content that kind of rules it all. So we just have to do our best. We got to find that thread that runs through everything. And then have confidence. Stop making excuses. Pick one channel, do it well, and don't be afraid to be provocative. So it's not enough for people to hear us. We really want them to listen to us. So we can grab attention and be provocative, but we also want to make sure that our content is of high quality so that people actually listen and engage and take the action that we want. So I believe that's my last slide.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Julia Gulia.
Sure. Julie, I
uh,
know, and that's what drives me crazy is that I know that nonprofits are getting that donation information from Facebook and it says Julia Gulia and it's not a real person. So
well, that's awesome. And you offered us some incredible insight. So thank you. And just as a quick
my
reminder
pleasure.
to our attendees, if you have any questions, you can submit them into the questions box for Julia, and we'll take those either as we go along or we'll hold them until the end of the event. Okay, so at this point, I'd like to turn things over to Lindsay Himple from Mobile Cause to hear more on how to leverage your social media strategy. And with that, all yours, Lindsay, take it away.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks again, everyone, for joining with us today. Julia shared with us a lot of great things to keep in mind as your organization is communicating and deciding how to communicate through different social channels. And today, I'd just like to share some more strategies specifically for promoting those fundraising campaigns that you're working on within social media. So let's go ahead and jump in. Oops, let's come back into here. All right. So Julia mentioned the idea less is more. And just to really reinforce that idea, I'd like to talk just a little bit about posting with a purpose. So your organization shouldn't necessarily be posting for the sake of posting, for the sake of frequency to get information out, but instead make sure that every post has an objective. We saw that over 20% of donations are coming in or influenced through social. So it's important to keep in mind your end goal, especially when you're promoting your fundraising campaign. And an easy way to do this is to make sure your posts are serving a purpose and really break them down into different types of categories. we have a few categories here to keep in mind: exposition, impact, ask, and stewardship. By categorizing them in this way, you're really making sure that there is an intention behind the purpose that you're the purpose, the content that you're putting out, so you can make sure that it's reaching towards your end goals. So let's take a look at the breakdown and a few examples of each. Starting here with the first type of communication, exposition. This is the type of communication that you would use to provide information about your nonprofit and who or what is benefiting from the good work that you do. This is really an opportunity to share your organization's mission and tell your organization's story. We have a really good example over here on the right hand side from Love One International, and they share a story about the reason why the organization was created and the mission behind the work they do. It does a really good job of introducing the organization through that storytelling, which is really just a critical part of connecting to your audience. At the same time, the post is sharing directly who the beneficiaries are. So it's really giving a great introduction to the organization and its beneficiaries as a whole. Some of the best social media tools to use for this type of communication would be Instagram stories or Facebook Live, really that behind the scenes look into the mission that your organization is striving towards. So just to take a look at a couple more social media examples here. On the right hand side, we have United Way, and they have this is a screenshot of one of their Instagram stories. So again, that behind the scenes look of what their volunteers, their staff are doing on a day-to-day basis. And the Instagram stories and Facebook stories feature of those social media platforms really allows you to give that inside look to what your organization's doing. And this doesn't necessarily require a lot of production. It's kind of more in the nitty gritty. It could be your founder or executive director explaining the motives behind your organization or just day to day in the life of your nonprofit. Over here on the left hand side, we have another example of an exposition post. Has a good graphic for Instagram with some statistics and just really going through the problems that the organization's facing so that they can propose a solution moving forward. So one type of communication that you can be using within social media. The next type of communication would be impact. So this is where your organization would provide details on how donations are being used and what they will help to achieve. The more you can break this down, the easier it is for your audience to digest for your donors and potential fundraisers. So here we see a Instagram post on the right hand side, nice graphic showing exactly what a $50 donation would equate to. So $50 means that an elder is provided with 10 nutritious meals. And it breaks it down even further into $100 and $250 donations. So some of the best social media tools specifically for demonstrating these impact metrics would be Instagram and Facebook posts, where you can really share those graphics, those statistics, or that tangible impact of tangible evidence of impact that the organization is striving towards. So let's take a look at a couple more examples here. So here we also see a few more Instagram and Facebook. Well, actually, we have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So just those graphics that are helping to provide more information about the direct impact that organization is making. Um, the impact metrics can also work in a way to help increase your average dollar donation. So if someone is kind of thinking, or if you see your average gift is 25 or 50 or somewhere at a certain area, but you're encouraging people to donate a certain amount so that they are having that tangible impact, this could help to increase that average gift. So it's a good tactic here which we see shown within this Instagram and Twitter post. Uh, when you are giving these impact metrics, it's important to give people also the option to take action upon them so that they can, if they're very inspired, have an easy way to make a gift. So definitely include links where applicable. And another option would be to include a text to donate keyword. So we see a sample of here in this Twitter and Facebook post, an image with the option to allow someone to text in so they can easily give from their mobile phone as well. All right. One of the next communications we're looking at would be the actual ask. So at this point, you've hopefully shared out some posts that share your organization's story and also have demonstrated your organization's impact. And so you can have posts that are directly aimed for that call to action. So this is a time where you would request a donation or a gift from the donor, or even invite them to some other call to action, such as becoming a volunteer fundraiser or or like an event volunteer. So a few best practices to keep in mind during your ask. You want to make sure that your forms are optimized for mobile giving. So when so much of social media does happen on mobile devices. So as people are accessing their Facebook, Instagram, Twitter accounts on their mobile phones, you want to make sure that when they are coming into your donation form, it's easy and responsive and smooth for them to make a gift. So always make sure the links, your website, or your donation form is mobile optimized for giving. And you want to make sure that the information that you're collecting from the donor is the most important information. You don't want a really lengthy form to deter any donors from giving, especially when they are on their mobile phone. Another best practice is to include your text to donate keyword to drive giving in different platforms. So much of social media is focused on graphics and videos, and text to donate can really allow you to take advantage of these items. Instagram, for example, isn't necessarily very friendly towards links, so they won't hyperlink within your post. However, you could include a graphic instead to have your keyword. For this example on the right hand side, bark to 71777, so that donors can easily make a gift from there. So utilize the giving tools that you have to make it as easy as possible for donors to give. Some of the best social media tools for the ask, like we mentioned, Facebook and Twitter posts with that strong call to action and an easy to click link, or a keyword in the image, so give donors multiple options. And then also Instagram stories and Facebook Live, where you can use your text to donate call to action in a live scenario. So let's take a look at a couple more examples here. On the left-hand side, we have an Instagram story where you can swipe up and have that mobile optimized form. So really just the path of least resistance into the donation form, making it as easy as possible for someone to give, especially once they hit the form, having it short, sweet, simple, exactly what you need from the donor to process that gift. In the middle, we have another example from the Dodgers Foundation, who recently had an event last week, and they really used social media to their advantage. So they had a live event where attendees were able to make a donation through text to donate, and then they also live streamed it on their Instagram story, so that they are giving all of their followers the option to participate virtually. So they utilize that keyword there to drive giving and invite different audiences through their social media platform to participate with that event virtually. So really cool example there. And on the right hand side, we have one more where we have this nice graphic from the organization who details out the different ways that you can give. So it gives donors multiple options so they can choose the path that's easiest for them. Really simple: donate online, mail your gift, or text in. So in the ask, you really want to create that path of least resistance, give donors the options that they need so that it's really easy for them to follow through and make a difference for your organization. All right. And the last type of communication I'd like to focus on here is stewardship. So, stewardship and thanking your donors is really an essential part of the communications of a fundraising campaign. With these types of communications, you're helping to ensure your donors feel appreciated so they stay connected with your organization, and it really helps to inspire long term and recurring giving. So, you definitely don't want to skip over these types of posts, but rather use it as an opportunity to showcase impact and the ways that donors can stay engaged. Um, we see that 76% of donors appreciate text message reminders and updates. I'm sure 100% of donors appreciate thank yous of any sort. But more specifically, this falls back into the idea that you can text your um, audiences with updates and thank you messages. And I always recommend with the nonprofits that I work with who are considering a text message campaign uh, that these are really good types of text messages to start with. Just strategically thinking about sending out text messages to your constituent base, what better text to start off with something positive, a thank you, a highlight of results of your organization's latest campaign, so that you're really starting off demonstrating the impact that your organization has and building that trust and relationship between you and your donor. So, a really cool thing to keep in mind, and obviously, highly recommend elaborating a lot on the thank yous and the stewardship through social media. So, let's take a look at a couple more examples here. Oh, some of the best social media tools for these types of communications stewardship would be Facebook and Twitter posts. Um, these allow you to share pictures, graphics, and a little bit more text about the results of the campaign. So here we have a couple examples, another one from Love One International with the amount raised, and then over here on the right-hand side with the number of donors that ended up giving to the campaign. What I love about the stewardship and thank you post, it allows your participants of the campaign to come and be part of the conversation and really recognizes and celebrates them for the participation that they gave as part of the campaign. So taking a look at the example here on the right-hand side, you can also use your thank you and stewardship post just as a last opportunity for giving. So they're celebrating the 500 donors that help them reach their goal and also providing a link so that people can still make a donation. So for anyone who maybe hasn't heard about the campaign or hasn't participated yet, you can still have that opportunity as a last chance for gifts. All right. So now we have an idea of all the different types of communication that you can use as part of your campaign. And while today's webinar is focused specifically on social media, a great way to increase your response rates from all your posts is to promote your campaign across all your marketing channels. So, including all of the social media platforms that you're using, and any direct mail pieces that you're sending out, email blasts, and text message campaigns. Now, a social media post wouldn't necessarily look the same as a longer email or a shorter text message. So you would definitely need to tailor the message for each marketing channel you're sharing on, but that message can echo the same mission and goal behind your campaign. Always remember to be strategic when you're promoting your campaign and provide either a text to donate keyword and or a link to your post so that people can take action and participate. Now, putting it all together, you want to approach your multi-channel communications as a whole. So with each platform or channel complementing your other communications that are going out. And one way to do this is to plan out a communications calendar. So you want to incorporate all the communication channels in your plan. And you'll see from the example here that we have it broken down by letter. So the different channel, mail, social media, email, text. You can get a little bit more specific if you wanted to delve into the different types of social platforms that you're using, and also broken down into the type of category in this example. So those four different types of communications we are looking at: exposition, impact, ask, and stewardship. So as you're approaching your fundraising campaign, you can start to think about the important dates of that campaign. When do you intend to launch it? Does it have a specific end date? Are there any key dates that happen within the campaign or events during that time? And use that as a starting point to start building out your strategy. So you can develop a plan for sending out your different communications on different days and times of the month that you're working in, and keep in mind their connection to one another so that you can really reinforce the different aspects of your campaign, like that exposition or storytelling, impact, ask, or stewardship. Now, as you're doing this and planning it, don't forget, post with a purpose. When you're planning out those posts, you want to make sure they're very intentional. However, we do see that post frequency does help to get your posts seen. For many social media algorithms, not all of your posts are guaranteed to be seen by your followers. So you can post multiple times per week to ensure that your messages are being seen. For example, if you're in the exposition phase of your campaign, don't be afraid to share out multiple stories or testimonies from your beneficiaries or the beneficiaries of your organization. You don't necessarily want to share the same story over and over, but rather give multiple examples of storytelling through social, potentially leading into that impact phase or impact post that you can have that really demonstrate the impact of your organization. And as you're promoting your campaign, it's really important to really track the results of your social media posts so that you can use this information moving forward to optimize your future campaigns. There are a few things that you can reference to help you track these results. One would be the engagements and shares. So, how many people are liking your posts? How many are sharing? Were there specific posts that did better than others? The posts that have a large amount of engagement and sharing show that your organization is putting out compelling content that is interesting to your audience. So, Julie talked a lot about that too. Targeting your content towards the audience that you're aiming towards. So, which posts performed better than others, and what type of content were you sharing in those posts can give you a good idea for how you're moving forward and using those results to put out the best content towards your audience. Another point of reference is clicks and visitors. So, what was the click through rate specifically on certain posts, and how many people visited the end site that you wanted them to go to? This helps to indicate interest, what the audience was interested in and wanted to follow up and read more about or act more upon. So, definitely take a look at those statistics. And last but not least, conversion rate and the amount raised. So, especially with those ask posts, what was the conversion rate or the amount raised specifically from those posts, and looking at the ones that perform better as well. Here on the bottom, we have a little snapshot of a mobile cause breakdown of the different channels and statistics and analytics from a specific campaign. So here it's broken down per channel: web, text to donate, and other traffic. And you can see the click-through rates, conversion rates, and amounts collected. So it helps give you a good idea which channels were performing better than others. And specifically, if you have a campaign that you run one month versus another, you can see and compare the results of different campaigns and use those results to modify and optimize your campaigns moving forward. So really important to measure those results to see what works best for you. Julia talked a lot about there's so many things that so many social media platforms you can use, so many different scenarios, audiences. So it's really important to cater towards your specific audience. Your organization knows your audience best, and measuring the results is really going to help cater to those people. Now, making it all work. So, a couple things to keep in mind as you're executing your campaign. First, identify the most compelling stories about your nonprofit. So, what types of stories are going to capture the most interest as you promote to your audiences? So, really focusing in and finding out what is your audience most responsive to, and utilizing that to build on new unique content moving forward. Another great thing to do for social media campaigns are to identify your influencers and ask them to share your campaign. So, do you have any volunteers, interns, staff, board members, members of the community that you work with in that could be influencers and willing to share out your campaign on social? This would just help to increase the number of eyes that are seeing your campaign. So definitely think about, are there any people on social media that would be willing to work with our organization and support our mission? Another thing to keep in mind, send an email to inform your supporters of the campaign and link to your social channels while you're doing it. So by including links to your social channels in your promotions, you can ensure that your supporters can easily follow along. So even if it's an email blast, have the links to the social channel so people can follow along with the stories, see those different types of posts, build on that storytelling through exposition, impact, and stewardship so that you can really build that strong connection with your donor. And last but not least, thank everyone who contributes on donors' walls and your own. Um, Big believer of thank you post. This is a great opportunity to have new donors and new people seeing your message through social. So you potentially and likely will get new donors and people who are new to your organization supporting via social, and you want to make sure to cultivate them. Thank them as they're doing it, and make sure you're following up so that you can build that relationship further from just a one-time donor to a recurring supporter. Great. So, in summary, just as you promote your fundraising campaigns, remember to keep experimenting and testing. Look at your analytics, see which types of posts are performing best and on which channels they're performing best. Don't forget to promote through multiple channels and utilize the numerous social media tools that you have towards your advantage. Post with a purpose, create content that's unique and intentional towards your campaign's goals. Social media really is a great way to keep us all connected. So leverage it towards your advantage as a direct way to build that connection with your audience. And with that, I'm going to pass things back to Alex, who's going to help wrap things up.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for sharing such fantastic and valuable information with us today. And I really hope that everyone is ready and raring to go on your social media strategy and to see what a difference it can make in connecting you to motivated and loyal donors. So keep experimenting and testing. Now, before we jump into Q&A, let's take another quick poll here. And I'm just curious, would you like more information about what you've heard? So make a selection here if you'd like to hear from Mobile Cause or Julia. Just leave this open for a couple moments. Excellent. Great. And as we're waiting for people to participate in this poll, I'm just gonna kind of pivot and take things over to the Q&A section. And just to answer some of these questions that we've been receiving. So feel free again to submit any questions as we go along. Good. So our first question today is for Julia.
Okay.
And we're wondering, if we have an account on a certain platform but are not actively posting, should we even have an account?
Well, I think the challenge is to ask yourself the 4 questions that we asked about this platform. So you can revitalize social media accounts that are dormant, but it's going to take a little bit of effort for sure. So the way that I like to think about it is, if is this platform, could this platform serve you, and could it serve your audience? So if it's dormant because you decided, well, Twitter's just not for us, or we don't have the capacity, we're going to focus on Instagram. So you have to really evaluate what kind of value the platform would provide if you started it up again, and also if your audience is on there. So I absolutely think that it can be revitalized, but you have to think strategically before jumping back in.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so question here for Lindsay now. With text to donate, do you run into the same issues of not being able to collect information to thank donors? And how do you set up a text to donate option?
Good question. So through Mobile Cause, we offer a text to donate feature where you can create a keyword that we saw a lot of organizations sharing out on their social media platforms, and you do not run into the same issue with the social media platform specific donations where you don't receive the donor info. It really gives you the opportunity to create a customized donation form to collect the key information that you need from your donors. So any specific information that you'd like to collect from them, the donor would text in, get a link back to the donation form, and be able to complete the form with all of their information that goes directly to your account that you can use and obviously, as I talked about with thanking, use to thank and steward and move forward into cultivating that relationship with that donor.
Splendid. And just a follow-up question for you, Lindsay, on the same vein here. So, when is a text campaign a most use? When is a text campaign most useful, and what type of nonprofit should consider it?
Yeah, I really think that all nonprofits should consider their a text message campaign, and it's really important just to think about it strategically. So we talked about it too, having that multi-channel communication. You want a text campaign to complement the other channels that you're communicating on. So it can really serve as a great complement to the social posts, the emails that you're sending out. And by being strategic, you can think about the frequency in which you're sending out text and really driving the objectives of your campaign. Text has a crazy high open rate. It's something like 96% in the first few minutes. So it really is a unique way to get directly to your donors, ensure they're seeing it, your messaging, and give them a direct way to take action as well.
Excellent. I know we just have a couple minutes here, so I'm going to give a question here for Julia. So,
Mhm.
any tips or tricks or insights when tailoring social media posts differently for each channel or platform?
Yeah, so if you have a great story, say you have a great impact story about a client that you've helped, or about some kind of impact that you've made, just go into the individual channel that you're on and look at the character counts. Maybe does that channel leverage hashtags? Hashtags work great on Instagram and Twitter, but don't work so well maybe on Facebook. Sometimes they work on LinkedIn. So you have to look at the platforms you're using and then mold it. So I always say, I mean, this is a quote that I took from Andrew Goodman at the Storytelling Center. He says, the content is the gold. So the story is the gold. And then you mold it to fit whether you're making a necklace or a bracelet or a wristwatch, whatever it is. So what works on Facebook, maybe a longer caption, Instagram, longer caption, Twitter, you have 280 characters, but the crux of the story can still be the same, and the visual and the video can still be the same, but you may have to mold the caption and the hashtags and the way that you present it a little bit differently.
Wonderful. Thank you. All
Sure.
right. And thanks, everyone. So if you have questions that were not answered today, feel free to email marketing@mobilecause.com. All right, so that's all we have time for today. If you're interested in discovering how to accelerate your fundraising and raise more funds with less time and effort, please fill out our post-webinar survey or visit www.mobilecause.com. Now, for more information on social media marketing for nonprofits, you can reach out to Julia on her website, visiting www.jcsocialmarketing.com. And thank you again for attending, and best of luck in all of your social media and fundraising efforts. We look forward to seeing you again next month at our donor communications webinar. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much.